Welcome to the Comma Series videos, where these videos will provide you with information on how to use commas in your writing. This series will also address some common comma errors that we sometimes face when we are writing. But for the most part, the goal is to just help you and review some of the concepts so that way you can identify how you can use commas in your own writing. So up first, we have coordinating conjunctions and the use of the comma. So one thing that you want to remember about a lot of these rules is that we want to know the concept of what is a comma's purpose? In other words, how is it functioning? So if you look at this formula here, we can see that we have to use a comma and a coordinating conjunction. So this is the first rule. A coordinating conjunction are words like and, but, for, or, nor, so, and yet. The good news about coordinating conjunctions is these are the only types, so there isn't a long list of them. So when you see them in your writing, you'll notice that you probably use them a lot, especially words like and, but, and so. Now, there are instances where we will use and but for other reasons, but for now, we're going to talk about how we will use them when using the comma. So the formula is a complete sentence, the comma plus one of those coordinating conjunctions plus a complete sentence. So let's see what this looks like. In this sentence, we have, I went to the store, but I couldn't remember what I needed to buy. So let's look at our comma and coordinating conjunction formula first. So this is the key idea here, right? And so we have it right here. We have our comma and we have our coordinating conjunction, but. Now, what you want to do is to look to see if it's placed correctly, and we also want to make sure that it's performing its function correctly as well. So one way to do that is to ensure that we have a complete sentence before and a complete sentence after. Remember, a complete sentence can be very long or it can be very short. And you also want to make sure that it makes sense. What that means is that the word but is a contrasting word. So we want to make sure that the information before and the information after is a contrasting idea of sorts. So let's check the first one. I went to the store. So this is a complete sentence, our first complete sentence. And then we have, of course, our formula. And then we have, I couldn't remember what I needed to buy. So this is also our complete sentence. So what you'll notice here is that we've copied the exact formula. We have our two complete sentences present, and we have our formula up above, as well as the relationship between the two. It makes sense, so we're good. Let's look at a couple of other sentences. This sentence reads, the student explained the reason for missing class, but the teacher refused to hear it. So let's go ahead again and identify our comma. So we have our comma here, and then we have our coordinating conjunction, but once again. Now we want to look for, again, first to make sure that the complete sentences come before and after. And we also want to make sure that the relationship makes sense. So we have the student explained the reason for missing class. So that is our first complete sentence. And then next we have the teacher refused to hear it, which is also a complete sentence. And we know that there's a relationship between the two because we have the concept of missing class and we have the concept of the teacher. This is the action. So yet, despite that the student explained the reason for missing class, the teacher refused to hear it. So we can use other ways to write that so it makes sense. Let's look at another sentence. It was her mother's birthday, so she took her to dinner to celebrate. Now we're dealing with the word so here, okay? And again, we have our comma before because it always comes before. Let's check. It was her mother's birthday. That is our first complete sentence. And since we're dealing with the word so, it should be an effect, like cause and effect relationship. Here, she took her to dinner to celebrate, which is another complete sentence. So what we're seeing is a cause and effect relationship. The cause is it was her mother's birthday, the effect being that she took her to dinner to celebrate. Let's look at one last sentence. In some instances, the word and but, as I indicated before, can be used for different reasons. Now here we have two ands, okay? And we want to examine how it's functioning. And again, I can't stress this enough about the concept of function because this is going to help you in knowing when to use the comma. So in this first one, we don't have a comma, okay? And we want to figure out why. This one we do. So let's look. If we know that we have a comma, right, we should have a complete sentence before and a complete sentence after, which means that the function of this and is to combine two complete sentences. So let's look. She went to the store to buy milk and cookies. That's a complete sentence. And she happened to run into her neighbor. That's a complete sentence as well. So basically what this is communicating, this and is telling us that two things happened at the same time. Now with this and, however, we notice that we just have cookies on one side, which is not a complete sentence. So what the and is functioning as is just combining two nouns, as we call it, okay? And most of the time you will see that there, that it's attempting to combine two nouns. So we will not put a comma in this instance, okay? So my tip to you is to make sure that since these are common words and we know that we may or may not be dealing with a comma, you want to look through your writing to try to identify and learn how to identify when you'll have a complete sentence before and after. In other words, make sure to watch for how commas are functioning when dealing with coordinating conjunctions.